1 year later, at the site where the Phoenix had fallen, a new settlement took shape. Humans and Serathi worked side by side, building homes that combined the best of both architectural styles. At the center of the settlement stood a spiraling monument, half ship, half living plant, commemorating those who had sacrificed themselves. "They called it Phoenix Colony," said Junie, a young human teacher, to her class of human and Exarathi children. "Named after the ship that saved us all, and after an ancient Earth legend about rising from ashes to begin again." She pointed to the stars becoming visible in the evening sky. "Our ancestors came from different worlds, but our future is the same. Together, we honor their sacrifice by building something new." The children, human and Serathi alike, gazed upward at the stars with wonder, their differences forgotten in the shared promise of tomorrow. "And dangerous," Dai added. "This is Void Collective technology. My people didn't build this." June approached the pillar carefully. It appears to be a complete record vault, preserved from before the Earth conflict. Day moved to a control panel nearby and connected the special interface they had developed. A crystal pillar pulsed brightly, and suddenly the entire chamber filled with projected images surrounding them on all sides. Vast star maps appeared, showing both the Earth system and the Exarathi homeworld. Between them floated strange, shifting shapes that seemed to exist partially in another dimension. "The Void Collective," Dog whispered. The images shifted to show Earth as it once was, beautiful and blue. Then came the attack, with Serathi ships darkening Earth's skies. But beyond those ships, barely visible, were shadowy forms directing the assault. "They were there all along," Hannah said, her voice tight with emotion. "Controlling the Exarathi ships." More images appeared, showing energy being harvested from Earth's destruction. The energy flowed through dimensional rifts, feeding the shadowy collective entities. June studied the data scrolling alongside the images. "This is worse than we thought. They didn't just manipulate the Exarathi into attacking Earth. They harvested the energy released by our planet's destruction, used it to power their expansion into new dimensions," Dai added, reading ahead. "And now." His voice trailed off as new projections appeared. The images showed the Exarathi homeworld surrounded by the same shadowy forms that had once encircled Earth. "The cycle is nearly complete," Daz said in horror. "They'd been guiding our development for centuries toward another harvesting event." Hannah moved closer to examine the technical specifications displayed alongside the images. "The collective operates through quantum entanglement. They need anchor points in our dimension to maintain their presence. Those must be the ancient systems that have been activating across our territories," Day realized. June pointed to another section of data. "Look here, their connection to our universe has specific vulnerabilities. If we combine your knowledge of their infrastructure with our dimensional disruption technology, we might be able to sever their connection to our universe entirely," Tai finished. As they continued studying the records, the chamber suddenly trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. "What was that?" Sue asked. "Take us in manually," Hannah ordered. "I'll stay to ensure the sequence completes. You should join the last evacuation shuttle." Tay's face hardened. "With respect, Captain, no." Before Hannah could argue, the ship rocked with a direct hit from one of the void portals. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Disruption field at 95%, JIA announced. Optimal firing position in 60 seconds. On the surface, Dai and his team fought desperately to keep the amplifiers online. The void entities had taken physical form now, towering shadows with too many limbs and eyes that glowed with ancient malice. "They're breaking through," Yoon shouted, firing continuously at the advancing shadows. Day activated his communication device. "Phoenix, our amplifiers are failing. We can't hold them much longer." In the colony ship, Hannah made her decision. "GAIA, initiate core overload sequence. Channel all power to the disruption field." Warning. GAIA responded. "Core overload will result in complete ship destruction. Recommend evacuation. Override. Authorization HANA Alpha 79. The ship's engines glowed brighter as power redirected to the disruption generators. Hannah turned to Ta. "Get to the emergency pod," she ordered. "Someone needs to tell our people what happened here." After a moment of hesitation, Ta nodded and embraced her briefly before running from the bridge. The Phoenix continued its descent, now glowing like a second sun in the planet's sky. The void portals seemed to sense the threat, directing their energy attacks toward the ship. The hull began to fail in multiple sections. "Disruption field at maximum capacity," JIA announced. "Optimal firing position reached. Core overload in 15 seconds." Hannah closed her eyes briefly, thinking of Earth, a home she had never seen except in ancient records. "For Earth," she whispered, "and for all who come after us." She pressed the activation sequence. A blinding white light erupted from the Phoenix, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. When it reached the void portals, they seemed to freeze, their swirling energies caught in the disruption field. On the surface, Dai and the survivors watched in awe as the light washed over them, harmless to organic life, but devastating to the void entities. The shadowy figures contorted in silent agony before dissolving into nothingness. The void portals began to collapse, folding in on themselves as their connection to this universe was severed. With a final flash, they disappeared completely, leaving only clear sky behind. The Phoenix, its mission complete, broke apart in a cascade of light that streaked across the heavens. They moved through the forest with practiced precision. For months, they had trained in simulated environments based on GAIA's predictions about the planet's conditions. The reality matched closely enough that they made good time. At the edge of the forest, they paused to observe the Xerathi settlement. Unlike the aggressive warriors described in historical accounts, these Xerathi appeared to live peaceful lives. The structures were elegant, with curved shapes that blended with the natural environment. "Different from what we expected," Yoon commented as he deployed tiny reconnaissance drones the size of insects. The drones scattered, flying toward different parts of the settlement. "Let's move to position 2, Jin ordered. They circled the settlement, staying hidden while the drones gathered data. When they reached a communication hub on the outskirts, Yoon set up a signal interceptor. "I'm getting something interesting," he said after a few minutes. "Their communications network is divided. Different factions using different frequencies. Can you access their information network?" Jin asked. Yoon nodded. "Their security is good, but not designed to keep out technology they don't know exists. I'm in." While Yoon worked, Jin and Sue kept watch. They observed Xerathi of different sizes and colors moving through the settlement. Some appeared to be workers, others looked like security forces. Most surprising were the young Xerathi playing in what looked like a schoolyard. "They have families," Sue whispered. "They live normal lives." Jin didn't respond. The enemy having families didn't change what they had done to Earth. "I found something," Yoon called softly. "They're historical records. I'm downloading everything I can." As the data flowed into their secure storage devices, Sue suddenly grabbed Jin's arm. "Look," she whispered. A group of Xerathi wearing what appeared to be military uniforms was confronting another group in different clothing. The argument grew heated, with both sides gesturing aggressively. GAIA was right about the factions, Jin observed. They're divided. The confrontation ended with the second group retreating, but not before one of them made a gesture that was clearly insulting. "Political instability could work in our favor," Sue noted. "I've got what we need," Yoon reported, "including something unexpected. Their historical records about Earth are strange. They don't match our accounts at all." Jin was about to ask for details when a security alarm sounded throughout the settlement. The team froze, but quickly realized the alarm wasn't because of them. Xerathi security forces were gathering near the center of the settlement. "Time to go," Jin ordered. "We'll analyze the data back on the ship." "Negative," JIA replied. "Our approach was passive, and our position remains outside their detection range. Hannah looked around the table at her crew, the leaders responsible for the 12,000 sleeping humans aboard the Phoenix. "We have a decision to make," she said quietly. "Do we continue to our secondary target system, or do we stay?" Te's eyes flashed with anger. "They destroyed our world, our history, everything we were. And now we found them," added Mina, the security chief. "After 3,000 years, we have a chance for justice." Hannah stood up and walked to the viewport. Stars glittered in the blackness beyond. "We left Earth with 2 missions," she said. "To ensure humanity's survival, and to remember what happened. Not once in our planning did we expect to find the HFY." She turned back to face her crew. "We carry the last 12,000 humans in existence. Our primary duty is to them. The HFY don't know humans still exist," Jun pointed out. "That gives us an advantage." Hannah nodded slowly. "GAIA, prepare reconnaissance drones. We need more information before we decide our next move." As the meeting ended, Hannah remained alone in the conference room. She pulled out a small wooden pendant, a family heirloom carried from Earth, passed down through generations of her family during the long journey. 3,000 years, she whispered to herself. "We never forgot. And now, we found you." The Eternal Phoenix continued its silent orbit, hidden from HFY sensors, while inside, humanity began to awaken with a single question on their minds. Had they found a new home, or the perfect opportunity for revenge? The stealth shuttle descended through the planet's atmosphere, its advanced cloaking technology hiding it from HFY detection systems. Inside, Major Jin checked his equipment one final time. The shuttle carried a 3-person team: Jin, Lieutenant Su, and Specialist Yoon. They were the first humans to set foot on a planet in 3,000 years. "Final approach," the pilot's voice came through their comms. "Landing in 2 minutes." Jin looked at his team. They wore adaptive camouflage suits designed to mimic HFY technology. The suits couldn't make them look like HFY, but they would mask their human life signs and help them blend with the shadows. "Remember the mission," Jin said quietly. "We gather information only. No contact with the HFY. We need to learn about their defenses and society before Captain Hannah decides our next move." The shuttle touched down silently in a wooded area 5 kilometers from the nearest HFY settlement. As soon as the hatch opened, Jin smelled something surprisingly familiar: vegetation, soil, and a hint of moisture in the air. It reminded him of the ship's biodomes, but wilder and more complex. "It smells like Earth," Sue whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "At least, like the descriptions in the old records." "Focus," Jin reminded her. "We have 6 hours until extraction." The massive colony ship Eternal Phoenix drifted silently through the vast emptiness of space. Its engines hummed softly as it approached a distant star system after 3,000 years of travel. Inside the ship, countless humans slept in cryo chambers, the last survivors of Earth. In the central control room, soft blue lights began to pulse. The ship's artificial intelligence, GAIA, initiated the revival sequence for the command crew. "Beginning revival of senior staff," GAIA announced to the empty room. "Approach to target system complete." Inside her cryo chamber, Captain Hannah opened her eyes for the first time in centuries. She felt the familiar tingling sensation as her body awakened. The clear cover of her pod slid open with a gentle hiss. She took a deep breath of recycled air and slowly sat up. "Welcome back, Captain." Jai's voice came through the ship's speakers. "Your vital signs are stabilizing normally." Hannah rubbed her face and looked around. Other pods were opening nearby. Her second-in-command, Ta, was already standing, stretching his arms above his head. "How long?" Hannah asked, her voice rough from disuse. "Exactly 3,022 years since departure from the Sol system," JIA replied. Ta walked over to a control panel and activated a large display screen. "Let's see our new home." The screen lit up with an image of a beautiful blue-green planet. It looked remarkably like Earth, with vast oceans and swirling cloud patterns. Hannah felt a surge of hope as she stood and moved closer to the screen. "Life signs?" she asked. GAIA paused before answering. "The planet shows extensive biological activity. However, I must report an unexpected development." The image on the screen zoomed in to reveal coastlines dotted with structures. As the view magnified further, Hannah could see cities, roads, and what appeared to be spaceports. "The planet is inhabited," Ta said quietly. "Correct," GAIA confirmed. "And based on architectural and energy signatures, I can identify the inhabitants with 99.7% certainty." The screen changed to show tall, four-armed beings moving through what appeared to be a marketplace. "Serafi," Hannah whispered, feeling her blood run cold. Tay's face hardened. "The destroyers of Earth." Hannah gripped the edge of the console. Every human child born aboard the Phoenix had grown up learning about the Exarathi, the alien species that had appeared without warning in Earth's skies. They had unleashed devastation on humanity's homeworld, destroying it completely. Only those who managed to escape on colony ships survived. GAIA, "Wake the rest of the command crew immediately," Hannah ordered, "and begin preparation for a full tactical briefing." Within an hour, 12 people sat around a large table in the ship's conference room. They watched silently as GAIA displayed detailed scans of the Exarathi settlements. "The planet we targeted for colonization has been occupied by Exarathi for approximately 500 years, GAIA explained. "Their civilization appears to be divided into several distinct factions." Jun, the ship's chief scientist, leaned forward. "Do they know we're here?" They retreated into the forest, moving swiftly back toward the extraction point. Behind them, the settlement's lights flashed as some kind of emergency response unfolded. 6 hours later, safely back aboard the Eternal Phoenix, Jin stood before Captain Hannah and the command staff, delivering his report. "The Exarathi aren't unified," he explained. "They've splintered into at least 3 major factions that appear to be in conflict with each other." "And the historical records?" Hannah asked. Jin glanced at Yoon, who stepped forward. "That's the most surprising part," Captain Yoon said. "According to their historical archives, they believe they were justified in destroying Earth. They record it as a necessary action to prevent a greater threat." "What threat?" Ta demanded. "Something they call the Void Collective," Yoon replied. "And there's evidence that the Exarathi themselves were manipulated into attacking Earth. They might not have been the real enemy after all." A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications of this revelation sank in. After 3,000 years of hating the Exarathi, humans might have been wrong about who truly destroyed their homeworld. The abandoned mining facility on the system's outer moon provided neutral ground for the most unlikely meeting in human history. Captain Hannah stood at one end of a long metal table, her face calm despite her racing heart. Across from her, the Exarathi Scholar Commander Day waited with 4 armed guards. "I still think this is a mistake," Commander Todd whispered beside her. "We should be planning an attack, not talking to them." "The data tells a different story," Hannah replied quietly. "We need to confirm what we found." The Exarathi delegation watched them with obvious suspicion. Day was smaller than the other Exarathi, with pale blue skin and large, intelligent eyes. Unlike the warriors from human historical records, he wore simple robes marked with symbols of academic rank. "You claim to be human," Day said, breaking the silence. His translation device gave his words a flat, mechanical quality. "Yet all humans died 3,000 years ago." "Not all," Hannah replied. "Some escaped. We are their descendants." Day's facial membranes fluttered, a sign of agitation or perhaps disbelief. "If this is true, why reveal yourselves now? Surely you come seeking revenge." "We came seeking a new home," Hannah said. She gestured to Specialist Yoon, who activated a holographic projector. But we found something in your historical archives that changes everything. The hologram showed ancient HFY records about Earth's destruction. Yoon highlighted specific data patterns embedded in the files. These encryption signatures appear in both your records and in our oldest files from Earth's final days, Hannah explained. They belong to something called the Void Collective. Day stepped closer to examine the projection, his guards tensing at his movement. The eternal enemy, he said softly. The old stories say they tested us by demanding Earth's destruction. Those who refused their command were eliminated. You were manipulated, Ta said, still sounding unconvinced. And you chose to destroy our world. Day turned to face them. My faction, the Truth Seekers, has questioned the official history for generations. We believe the collective used our species as a weapon against yours. And now we have proof, Hannah said. But we need your help to learn more. Before anyone could answer, Day's communication device activated. A frantic HFY voice spoke rapidly. The military faction has launched an attack on the surface. Day translated. They know we're here. Another tremor, stronger this time, shook the chamber. That's not weapons fire, Ta said, checking his scanner. Those are dimensional disturbances. The crystal pillar suddenly flashed red, and new images appeared, live feeds from the surface. Massive void portals were opening in the skies above the HFY cities. The Void Collective, Hannah whispered. They've accelerated their timeline. They know we've discovered them. We need to get this data back to our ships, Tide urged. It's our only chance to develop a countermeasure. As they gathered the critical information, Jun made one final discovery in the archives. Wait, he called out. There's something else here. The collective didn't just target Earth randomly. They attacked because humans were developing technology that could detect them. After all this time, Hannah said softly, we're finishing what our ancestors started. The chamber shook again, more violently. Parts of the ceiling began to collapse. We have what we need, Day said urgently. We must go now. As they rushed from the crumbling chamber, Hannah looked back one last time at the crystal pillar, still projecting images of Earth's final moments. 3,000 years of seeking vengeance against the HFY. And now humans and Terethi would stand together against the true destroyers of Earth. Outside, the sky was tearing open as the Void Collective began its assault on another world. The sky above the HFY homeworld tore open with swirling black portals. From these wounds in reality, tendrils of darkness reached down toward the planet's surface. In orbit, the human colony ship Eternal Phoenix moved into position, its massive engines glowing bright against the darkness of space. On the bridge, Captain Hannah studied the tactical display with grim determination. The data recovered from the ancient archives had given them a plan, but time was running out. Disruption field generators at 80%. Commander Tay reported. All evacuation vessels are away. His voice softened. Except yours, Captain. Hannah nodded without looking up. The calculations are clear. Someone needs to manually control the final sequence. The automatic systems won't be precise enough, Hannah interrupted. We get one chance at this, Ta. The Void Collective is fully manifesting. If we fail, they'll harvest this planet just like they did Earth. On the surface, chaos reigned as Terethi cities faced the otherworldly assault. Strange energy beams shot from the portals, dissolving structures and living beings alike. In the central government district, Scholar Commander Day led a mixed team of humans and Terethi rebels in defending the ground-based amplifiers necessary for the disruption field. Keep them online, Dai shouted as another energy blast struck nearby. The Phoenix can't generate enough power alone. Lieutenant Sue fired her energy weapon at shadowy figures, materializing from a nearby portal. They're trying to disable the amplifiers, she called. They know what we're doing. In orbit, the Eternal Phoenix descended deeper into the planet's atmosphere. The massive colony ship was never designed for this kind of maneuver. Its hull creaked and groaned under the strain. Hull temperature rising, JIA reported. Structural integrity at 70% and falling. Hannah gripped the command console as the ship shuddered violently. How much closer? We need to be at least 30 kilometers lower to affect all portals simultaneously, Ta said. For several hours, they shared information. The humans explained their long journey through space. The Exarathi described how their civilization had fractured over time, with Daz's faction pushing for historical truth against the ruling military caste. The Void Collective hasn't been seen in centuries, Daz explained. But recently, ancient systems have been activating across our territories. The military faction claims these are blessings from the gods, but we believe they are something far more dangerous. Jun, the human scientist, studied the data on these activations. These energy signatures match theoretical models for dimensional rifts, he said. It's possible the collective isn't from our universe at all. Why would they make you destroy Earth? Tai asked, his hostility gradually giving way to curiosity. Dad looked troubled. We believe they harvest the energy released by planetary destructions. Your Earth wasn't the first world they sacrificed, and unless we stop them, our homeworld might be next. As the meeting continued, tense trust began to form. The humans possessed advanced technology developed during their long journey between stars. The Exarathi offered knowledge about the collective and access to restricted areas on their homeworld where ancient records might be found. If we combine our strengths, Hannah suggested, we might be able to find a way to stop the collective before they strike again. Dag considered this. My faction has limited resources. The military caste controls most of our defenses. We don't need to confront them directly, Hannah said. Not yet. First, we need to confirm the truth and find the collective's weakness. Just then, the facility's alarms blared to life. A human technician rushed into the room. Captain, Serathi warships are approaching the moon. Day's guards raised their weapons, but he motioned them to stop. The military faction must have tracked us here, he said grimly. They consider my group traitors already. If they find us meeting with humans, then we all die. Hannah finished for him. She made a quick decision. Come with us. Our ship can evade their detection. Dad hesitated only briefly before nodding. A temporary alliance, then, until we learn the full truth. As they hurried toward the human shuttle, Tai caught up with Hannah. Do you really trust them? He asked. I trust our common interest in survival, Hannah replied. For 3,000 years, we prepared to fight the destroyers of Earth. Instead, we may have found partners to fight the real enemy. Behind them, the first Exarathi warships entered orbit around the moon. The human Exarathi alliance had formed just in time, but their greatest challenges still lay ahead. The forbidden archives beneath the ancient Exarathi temple complex stretched deep underground. For 3 days, the joint human Exarathi team had worked through layers of security, combining their different approaches to overcome each obstacle. Now they stood before the final door, a massive circular structure covered in pulsing circuitry. The heart of memory, Daz said reverently. No one has entered this chamber in over 2,000 years. June, the human xenorchaeologist, studied the intricate patterns on the door. These circuits are still active after all this time. The power source must be incredible. Captain Hannah stepped forward. Are we ready? Day nodded and placed his 6-fingered hand on a specific pattern at the center of the door. At the same time, Yoon activated the human bypass device they had developed together. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the circuitry flashed brightly, and the massive door began to rotate, revealing a dark opening. Stay alert, Tay reminded everyone. We still don't know what security measures might be active inside. The team moved cautiously into the chamber. As they entered, lights automatically activated, revealing walls covered with more circuitry. At the center stood a crystal pillar glowing with soft blue light. It's beautiful, Sue whispered.